Hey, what's up? I'm Tim. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing shoulder exercises. Going to start out with some crunches though. And yeah, that's about it. Uh, have have some fun. I gotta say, today it's definitely was tempted to come up with excuses to not come out here and do this. Um, and sometimes it happens, and sometimes you are definitely not motivated to work out. Today was one of those days, but you just gotta knuckle down and get it done sometimes. So just wanted to be upfront with that. That's not always easy. Like sometimes you just don't feel like it. All right, here we go. I'm gonna start out with just doing body weight crunches, and then we'll add some weights. All right, I got the 10-pound weights. Hey, sometimes like I don't know, you just lose enthusiasm for working out, and you just gotta, you know, really force yourself to do it. Sometimes I'm like chomping out the bit, like I'm super excited to come out and work out, and then other times it doesn't happen as much. So more times than not, I'm excited to work out, and then sometimes you just like you hit like a couple of days where it's just not something you really want to do. You just gotta work through that. All right, this is with the 10 pounds. All right, and got the 20 pounds. I just need to feel more enthusiastic for this by tomorrow because tomorrow's leg day. And man, I don't need to have a bad attitude or be irritated on leg day. It's bad enough. Leg day's bad enough already without adding adding that element to it. So that's I think part of it honestly is I was like shopping today and I'm hungry because I'm trying to lose these last few pounds before the end of the year, and all I wanted was like this gingerbread cookies, and then also alcohol. And I was like, man, you gotta like not do it. Don't break down. Don't do it. And it was so hard to like get out of the store and not consume all the stuff that I wanted to. And I made it through, but it definitely, I think it just legit bummed me out. It's a bummer when you're like trying to stop from eating what you want to eat. It's very frustrating. I like doing the weighted crunches. I hate doing. I don't hate doing crunches. It just feels silly, like doing it over and over again with no weight, and you have to do so many. And then finally, somebody pointed out that you could just do weighted crunches and have to do less, get more bang for your buck. So that's why I enjoy doing it with the weight. It felt really dumb when somebody pointed it out. Like, so it's just so obvious, and I didn't learn it till like a couple years ago. But people were like, "Oh yeah, like why would you train your biceps by just doing repeated bicep curls with no weight?" And he's like, similar to just doing crunches. Like, yeah, you would develop biceps, you know, over time if you're doing thousands of bicep curls a day with no weight. You get some muscle, but you wouldn't do that. And it's like, why would you do that with your abs? Do weights with your abs. That made sense to me. All right, enough of that. Let's go shoulder press. Warming up with the 10 pounders, 4.53 kilograms. It's funny when you, as a parent, when you try to do something nice with your kids and it backfires. Like there's a toy drive at my kid's school. So I was like, all right, we'll go get a toy and this will be a nice experience because we'll learn about charity and being giving. So you just go and like you go to the store and you have such a positive attitude, and then like 5-6 minutes into re-explaining it to your kids what you're doing and trying to get them to pick out a toy, you're like losing your mind. But you're trying, you can't lose your mind because you have to control it. So you have this positive experience. Man, it is hard. So hard as a parent sometimes to maintain being positive and controlling your kids and getting them to focus. It's very difficult. I think that's one of the things too that like one of the things about being a parent and parenting that I think people don't always realize is how exhausting it is to stay positive and to control your stress and being angry when your kids are acting out or things are not going the way you wanted them to, and just how draining that can be. It's incredibly draining. But you're like, this is important. We got to stay upbeat, and it's the last thing. Like, it's very difficult. So today, you know, I think that's part of the reason why coming in. I think one of the big reasons that coming out and working out today was hard is because of my kids. And I don't want to blame them entirely, but man, today was draining. And one draining point was we're going to pick up one of my kids from school. I got my other kid dressed, ready to go, but that was a fight. They didn't want to put on a sweatshirt. It was like, it's cold, you need to put on a sweatshirt. That was a fight. And I go put my clothes on, and I'm coming out, and they have proceeded to take off all of their clothes just in defiance. And oh man, and we are running. We're not running late, but we're close to being late, which is stressful because I don't want to be late picking my kids up from school. So that was fun. That was definitely a fun little moment. It's so very draining trying to keep your frustration levels from going through the roof. All right. It's funny is there's a lot of people talking about the CEO of United Healthcare getting killed and that they deserved it. Oh, hold on a second. What is this? Math for no. Hey, I'm Nathan. Or it says, hey, I'm Nathan. Are you in the USA? I'm from the UK. Ah, yes, I am from the USA. What part of the UK are you from, Nathan? Oh, cool. Love the USA. South, near London. Oh, nice. I've not been to the UK yet. I'm in California. Oh, thanks for the follow, man. California, NorCal. To be a little bit more specific. Give you a follow, you chill. Thanks, man. There was a gal from England stopped by the other day. A lot of stuff that I enjoy comes from England, UK. You haven't been to the USA yet? Would you love to? Yeah, it's a fun spot. I recommend it. I've only traveled to China. I lived in China for a couple of years. I really liked Hong Kong, which was, under British rule for a long time. I was in Hong Kong and when I was a kid in like 19, let's see, I think I was 90, in 1991, I was in Hong Kong, so it was still under British control then. And I've been in Hong Kong since, but I really liked Hong Kong, and a lot of people could say what they want about British control, but if you were living in China and something went wrong health wise, you want to get to Hong Kong because the doctors there are the best ones to save your life. What do I like about the UK? I'm a huge fan of history, but there's a lot of authors that I like. Um, Number one being like Douglas Adams, and of course there's Tolkien and J.K. Rowling, and a lot of good music from the UK. Big fan of Doctor Who, and there's a lot of British shows that I like, a lot of British movies that I like, a lot of good culture, a wide variety of culture. I love seeing the vast amount of culture that's in UK, because it's very easy as Americans to have this like one version of England in your mind and the UK, and then the more you dig deeper, it's just there's a lot there, like a lot of rich history of. Oh, our history is a big thing, yeah. Lots of people love that about the UK. The royals, I mean, it's not just the royals. Like, I'm not a sycophant for royalty. Like, I don't really care about the royal family per se. Like, I've never been like, oh, like what's happening. But the effect that England has had on the world is incredibly fascinating. So Nathan says, okay, that's a good selection of UK stuff. Have you know more about the UK stuff than most USA guys I've chatted to? Well, it's hard. It's hard when you, I don't know. It's hard not to know a lot about England. I mean, there's a lot that gets taught about British history in the U.S., and I love history, so it's easy for it to stick for me. And I love that. Man, you have good arms. Thanks, man. I love that show, Misfits. It was one of my favorites because I started watching around the time like Marvel movies were all coming out, and I felt like Misfits had a more realistic take on what the average person would end up being like if they had superpowers. That was a fascinating show, and of course, I really love Guy Ritchie movies. Love my accent. Oh, thank you. All right. Guy Ritchie movies are fun. I did a 23andMe DNA test last year or a year before, and my family, my dad's side of the family, were primarily Hispanic, Native, and Swiss, but I was really surprised to come back with 48% of my DNA is Irish, and my grandpa was an orphan, so it was interesting to see how much Irish I ended up with. That's a typical UK thing to love USA accents. Well, it's pretty typical for the US to love British accents. That's a pretty standard fare, especially the girls. I heard someone with an American accent in the UK. I love it. I'm like, they're American. I love their accent. Do you have any favorites of American accents? Like, how do you feel about like Southern accents, like the Texas drawl or Georgia Southern accent? New York is fun. What about Boston? There was a bunch of people, historians and linguists, that said that the Boston accent is probably the most accurate portrayal of the British accent from colonial times. They said, because for years we had this idea that American accents were changed British accents. Like we all spoke with a more British and English accent, and then we slowly changed. But they said that the division actually was on the English side. That I forget which royal it was started speaking, and in the current style, and then everyone just copied, and that became like the new British accent that they changed versus the Americans changing. I thought was interesting. That you're more of an average American accent, not too strong, but you've always lived in California for the most part. I lived in California most of my life. I lived in China for 2 years. Occasionally, the thing that's different about the way I speak is that I will throw in occasional like the Oklahoma style of speaking, because my mom's from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'll get a couple of y'alls in there and use some phrases that aren't standard for Californians. But yeah, for the most part, pretty standard California accent. And I surfed and lived in SoCal for a while, so I have a definite preference for using dude and bro. I love the world, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the great things about today is you can tap into so many different cultures and parts of the world. And I think it's a lot of fun. All right, that's it with the 50 pounds. That's the 22.67 kilograms. I'm gonna drop down to 40 pounds, 18.14 kilograms. Back in 2 minutes. All right, I'll see you in 2 minutes. Good chatting with you. You're funny and interesting. Nice guy. Oh, thank you. I enjoy chatting. All right, it's a 40 pounds, 18.14 kilograms. Oh man, I gotta tell you, one of the nice things about my wife is she takes care of almost all the Christmas shopping, and it's excellent because it's done. She's in the process of wrapping, and it's makes it so much easier for me. Yeah, man, get a good wife that can straighten out your chaos. I am king of procrastinating. If it wasn't for her, I'd be doing the last minute Christmas Eve shopping. But she takes all the stress out of it. It's really nice. Hmm. I think one of the harder parts about being an adult and Christmas shopping is when you know there's like a present under the Christmas tree that you really want to open and you know it's there, but you just have to keep waiting. Like, I got a couple of presents under the tree I'm super excited about. All right, you're back, Nathan. My uncle um is British, and I'll tell you a story. Well, I think I was 12 at the time, and we were all celebrating Christmas, and I had been reading about the Sir Francis Drake, and from some parts of history, the way we learned it here was Sir Francis Drake was a pirate, and I asked my uncle if he knew who Sir Francis Drake the pirate was, and his response was he was kind of taken aback, and he was like, "Pirate? He's not a pirate. He's knighted. He's not a pirate." It's like, oh man, that's the difference. What's up, Bowser? Oh, that's interesting. Like he was born there. Yeah, he's from England. I want to say Lancaster, but I'm not sure exactly. I think it was Lancaster. But he met my aunt was working in Hong Kong, and he was working in Hong Kong, so they got married and came here. Lancashire, yes. Sorry, pardon me. I can sure say it like that, huh? What kind of British accent do you have? If you don't mind my asking. I feel like a lot of like Guy Ritchie characters from South London. You like humor? I feel like you have a really good sense of humor. Yes, I'm a big fan of humor. I love comedy. I love anything funny. That's why I like Douglas Adams. Is one of my favorite authors. Southern, so not a strong accent. I have random and funny question. It's so silly though. Go for it. I love random silly questions. It's funny idea I thought of. Oh well. All right. If you could choose anyone to see get tickled, who would it be? Oh man, that is a good one. Like against their will, or like someone sneaks up and like just tickles them. I think it would be really funny to see. Um, I think living, it would be funny to see Vladimir Putin tickled. Like, but only if he like ends up giggling like a girl when he's tickled, like just kind of destroys that image forever. Like if you saw Vladimir Putin getting tickled and him giggling, it would just change everything for Russia. Um, or maybe I feel like Putin would be a funny one. It would have such a great like change for the world. I think. Hopefully, it wouldn't put him over the edge. Like he'd be like, ah, now I have to do something really crazy. But I think that would work out. I think okay. So if I get to pick the scenario, I think it'd be funny for it to be a world like meeting, UN meeting, or some sort of conference like that, and Trump just like tickle Vladimir Putin's ear with like a feather, and have Vladimir Putin just like like giggle like a girl, and then that would just settle so many problems. I think it's hard to bounce back from giggling. What about you? Who's your choice? I think in that vein, Kim Jong Un from North Korea would also be one. I had a few funny choices. Oh well. Jake Paul, as he's quite arrogant. Oh well. Yeah. I feel like I feel like that'd be less of a takeaway just because those guys did a Jake Paul and Logan Paul did a lot of like silly things coming up. Andrew Tate. This is the second time. Someone the other day said on one of I have a YouTube channel, and on one of my YouTube videos said I looked like Andrew Tate's older brother. I was like, okay, but I think the primarily probably because we both have large foreheads. Like I have a really big forehead. I have my sister-in-law. She's shorter than me by almost an inch, and everyone in the family always thinks that she's taller than me. And I finally figured it out because her eyes, my forehead is so big compared to her forehead. Her eyes are actually taller than my eyes. So if we're standing next to each other and you make eye contact, you have to look up a little bit more to make eye contact with her than me. So it looks like she's taller based off of eye contact. So also, it doesn't have to be a celebrity. I choose my dad. LOL. Yeah, making your dad laugh from being tickled is fun. I'm 24, just to say, Nathan. 24. I am not 24. Let's see if you can place my age. Let's see how if you can where you gauge my age at. Love to see my dad cry laughing. Is your dad a very serious guy? I know there's he's tough, serious, masculine guy, but he's quite ticklish. That's funny. It's funny when you see like big guys like break down from being tickled. I knew this guy when I was in college who was an ex-con, super. He'd been in prison for armed robbery. Very serious, very tough-looking guy. And oh man, would he be so ticklish? And it was hilarious because he would have that like almost giggle like a girl as the last thing you ever expected to see from just a big like super strong former prisoner was to watch them just completely giggle. Oh, I tickled him. I was messing around with him and grabbed him. Yeah. I didn't expect him to like squeal. Like it was hilarious. So that some of my favorite experiences I've been watching like guys that have been in prison that have such a tough veneer come out like not as always as tough. Like my favorite was we were telling ghost stories and I thought this guy was kidding. He was also been out of prison. I think he'd been in for assault. Pretty sure he might have killed someone. I don't remember 100%, but I think he might have. He was like had been a serious gangster and gotten out. And we're telling ghost stories, and he just looks more and more scared. And I was like, "Hey, buddy, like, do you need me to walk you to your room?" And I was just kidding. And he was like, "Yeah, I do." I was like, and I laughed. I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "No, really. Could you walk me back to my room?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll walk you back to your room, bud." But it's not like he had like the neck tattoos, the face tattoos, like not like what you'd expect to be like scared of the dark, but he was very scared. So he says, yeah, that's funny. Sorry, LL, funny. He was scared. Yeah, dude, it's hilarious. But sometimes people that like do bad things end up with a more fear of like retribution from anywhere. So, but watching people get scared is fun, especially people that talk big. Like I had this roommate who was like 6'4", so like over 2 meters tall, nice guy. But he talks such a big game about like, oh, I can go anywhere and mesh with any group of people. I'm a man of the people. I can hang out with anybody. And so we would go to like different events that he wanted to go to, and he knew all these different people. And I thought like, okay, cool, like you know what you're doing. Or so then I'm Hispanic, and my girlfriend at the time was Hispanic, and she was having this sorority party at this Mexican club. And so he's my roommate. I was like, hey, let's go to this club. And walked in. I was fine, like, but he got like worried about being there because he was only one of two real white people there, and he was tall, and he just like, I gotta go. He lasted 10 minutes, and then I had to leave, scared. And I was like, man, you talk such a big game. You talked about like how great you are with people, and you're scared of a club full of Mexicans. Like, that's so weird to me. So yeah, my dad is quite ticklish, but really ticklish on his feet, haha. But he hardly ever gets tickled. LOL. Yeah. I forget. Do you guys do Boxing Day in England, or is that just Canadians? I'm thinking of a funny scenario from my dad. I'd love it if he got tickled for 5 minutes. Haha. When I was a kid, um, there was a toy that came out called Tickle Me Elmo. And so, what do you prefer, Boxing Day or Christmas? Do you have a preference? Um, but the Tickle Elmo doll like sold out. Like everybody wanted this toy. My mom liked Elmo when she was a kid or was younger, and she wanted to get one, but it was completely like it was gone. I remember my dad is telling her, "Listen, if you really want a Tickle Me Elmo, I'll cover myself up with cotton balls, with red cotton balls, and you can just tickle me, and I'll laugh." And it was just the silliest image when I was a kid. My dad like being dressed up like Elmo. It was a good mental image. You prefer Christmas? What sort of Christmas traditions do you do? Always like everyone's got like different. My sister-in-law is Sardinian, and they have like different Christmas traditions, but they're like Santa Claus, I think, is actually like a witch. There's a witch that comes by. Oh, every everything's different everywhere. I used to like reading all the different stories about the different versions of Santa Claus and different cultures, types of Santa Claus. Who is your non-celebrity choice for my question? Hmm, non-celebrity choice. Probably my grandpa would be funny. I like messing with my grandpa. No, I wouldn't choose my dad. I've like seen my dad laugh a lot. My grandpa would be funnier person to tickle and watch him like squirm out. When I was a kid, my we went rafting, whitewater rafting, and I was, I think, like 10 or 11, and I asked my dad if I could knock my grandpa out of the boat because everybody gets knocked out of the boat at some point, and my dad was like, "Yeah, if you think you can."
go for it. Because he didn't think I could. He thought my grandpa would just throw me out of the boat. So I got up on the raft and I ran and bounced off of the center inner tube and just hit my grandpa just right and sent him flying out of the boat. And that was probably one of my favorite memories of my grandpa, was tossing him out of the boat. Especially as my grandpa was a Marine and served in the Vietnam War. He was a very tough guy, and that was fun. So, come from a very tough family, so it was fun to knock him out of the boat.
That's what's funny about uh, England and the U.S. Like my great grandfather served in World War II, and I'm sure like I'm would assume that your great grandparents served in World War II as well. And my great grandpa was a tough, very tough guy. You said the story about your dad is Tickle Elmo. My story is my dad used to be the tickle monster. Ha! He would tickle, and it was so funny. Good memories. I'm very ticklish. Oh well, says Nathan. My mom used to be the tickle monster. When we would go to like the park and stuff, she'd chase after us and tickle us. That was a lot of fun. It's funny is in my should come back. All right, it's back. Good. Mike died on me. My mom was like, so I was saying that when I was a kid, my mom was like super awesome, and she was always awesome. But as you're more independent and stuff, like you just forget like how awesome your mom was as a kid, and then watching her with my kids, being a grandma, like it brought back so many memories of how awesome my mom was. Can't imagine you being ticklish. Haha, you're too tough, mate. Yeah, I'm not super ticklish anymore, but I have like a very high pain tolerance. So you have to like catch me just right to tickle me, and it's usually like that thing where you like grab like the like some like really hard to tickle someone. That's more of like me. I've just a really high pain tolerance that affects like being tickled. Like if I go to massages, I have to do like deep tissue massage, like a regular like massage they do for most people doesn't really do it for me. I was at this one massage parlor with this lady, and I told her like, yeah, I want a deep tissue massage, and she's like, okay. And at the end, she was like, listen, she's like, you are like one of the only people that I've had come in here that actually could stand a deep tissue massage. She's like, most people they say that's what they want, but they don't. She's like, it was definitely
a lot of work, and she was she was very impressed with my pain tolerance. But I think most people have ticklish feet. Probably. I think most people will respond to tickles. It just depends on what you do. But hey, one of my kids is waking up, which means my time is up. I can only do this when they're asleep. So thanks for hanging out, Nathan. Hope to see you again. Primarily, I stream working out, except Fridays and Saturdays. I usually late at night play Call of Duty. Usually around like 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, since I'm on the West Coast. But yeah, man, hope to see you again. Thanks for hanging out. Nice to meet you. I'm always a big fan of random questions and stuff. So thank you so much. God bless you guys. Thank you, everybody, hanging out. Bye.